Okay, booktube, let's do this thing. I am Span from Spanmade, and I want to talk to you today about the Lightbringer series by Brent Weeks. So the last time I talked to you about these books was about roughly a year ago. No, more than that. 2 years ago would it be? I only had the first one, and I was very excited about the magic system and how it all worked and what was going on. Looking back on that, I just find that so incredibly funny. It's like really innocent. Like, the first book seems like so long ago. I keep using the word like and it's annoying me, and I'm sorry if it's annoying you, but that's just how I talk. Since then, I read the second book completely, and I don't honestly remember the distinction between where the second book ends and the third book begins. So I think what I've done is, as soon as I finished the last page of that one, I picked up the first page of this one and I just continued it on. Trying to talk to you just about book 2 would have been a little bit ridiculous, seeing I'm this far from finishing book 3. This storyline is incredibly complicated, and it is written superbly. There is so much happening all the time, politically, religiously, and personally for the characters. And the thing about the characters is that, sure, there's like 3 or 4 main characters that we follow religiously and are the main characters, but there are so many characters in this book. Oh, good job, I've been working out so I can juggle these books. And there's a 4th one. So our main storyline in this book follows our protagonist named Kip, and Kip in the first book was a young, bullied, chubby kid who lived in a small town and just survived off the skin of his teeth, basically, and bad things happened to him, and he is sort of on a quest from his mother's dying last words and finds a father figure and goes to school, basically. But the school is a school of magic. It's the chromeria, I call it the chromeria, I'm not sure how to say it properly. It's like a really classy Hogwarts. So Kip becomes a blackguard trainee somewhere around here. I'm not really sure how it happens. I can't remember the exact storyline. Political things start happening. There's movement in the houses, basically, the colours, and there's this big baddie looming in the distance. And the Colour Prince, he calls himself, is the bad guy, and he does some pretty horrific things right about here, I'd say. He basically starts the next war. So there's a card game in this, and like all of the rules are there in the card game. Like, this is a very in-depth universe, and it has a lot of information and a lot of characters, but is still easy to follow. There's this one bad guy. Well, there's this one character who's pretty evil, whose name is Murder Sharp. Even by his name you should know he's evil, but he is kind of like if the Cheshire Cat was super evil, and not just like in weird quirky dark ways like the Cheshire Cat really is. Like, if it was the devil in the Cheshire Cat form, that would be this man. I find him intriguing, and his character makes my insides squirm, but not in a good way, in a very interesting bad way. I guess he's sort of the middleman bad guy. There's a lot of bad guys in this book, and sometimes it's hard to tell the difference between the good guys and the bad guys, but I think that's what all good, strong fantasy novels are about the shades of grey morally. And the Colour Prince does some devastatingly bad things, which makes you remember how bad he is, but then his story is about the good guys, and you're like, oh yeah, that's just as bad. It quickly skims over the horrific, well, it doesn't, it goes right into the horrific things, but it also quickly moves on to something a little bit less horrible, so you don't get trapped in the gross, disgusting parts for too long. I really love the colour system. I know I said this in my last video and I just kept going on and on about it, but I really adore it. It's my favourite one ever. You draw your magic out of colours, and then the colours have feelings and emotions behind them, and you can craft lucks, and the force of will behind that you have is the strength of the thing. And there's these 3, so my favourite characters, right, are obviously Kip, the main guy, who is totally relatable. He used to be a little fat picked on kid, and now he's growing up into a Guile, which is his last name. And then there's Karis. So Karis is sort of like the love interest of his father figure. She's this really strong, awesome character who has had like full-on wars fought over her beauty and her love, and she's just tough as guts. I love her so much. She's hard as nails. She just is soft and feminine and beautiful, but also like she could just obliterate you. She was my favorite character until about halfway through this book, which is no reflection on her. She didn't do anything to disappoint me, but we met another character that really built up in my respect levels, and her name is Tia. She was a slave girl, and she's small and wiry, and she's trying to get into the Blackguard. She's Kip's partner in crime in the Blackguard, and she's just really interesting and also relatable and makes good choices, I think, and has a strong head on her shoulders and is full of fear all the time, but is also really tough. And I really enjoy these three main characters. So where I'm at the moment is like on the brink of war still, but that seems to have been the whole 2 books, so there are bad things happening to one character and I'm not sure he's going to get out of it, and it's really got me on edge because he hasn't gotten out of some things recently and he's had some really terrible turns of events happening to him, and he's like the king of the entire place but nobody can rescue him from this situation. So he's all on his own and he's sort of stripped down of all of his powers. You love him for who he is, but you also sort of hate him for who he is. And I think that's a big part of that shades of grey area where you're like, oh yes, I really enjoy reading your story, but I'm not sure I enjoy you, but I would like to be in your company, but I would not like to be your advisor or be responsible for anything that you do or be against you and be in your wake of destruction. I really like this character, but if I talk too much about them, I'm going to give away spoilers. And I know I said that in the last thing, and I know that sounds like a cop-out because I can't find a way to craft my words around a secret, which is entirely true. The first rule about Fight Club is that you don't talk about Fight Club. Spoilers! Okay, see, I can't even use the word promocos without giving you a spoiler. I'm not confident in talking about this book. This is really funny. I just want to tell you everything, but I don't want to tell you everything because I hate telling spoilers. Okay, I've been talking for 10 minutes. I just get really excited about these books. I'm so happy to be back in this universe, like seriously. I can't wait for the next book. I'm gonna go get it as soon as I finish this one. The actual physical writing in this book is really good. The way that it jumps between characters is fine. It's all in third perspective, but it has the emotion in there of the individuals as well. There's this history in this book where things and events that happen to singular people throughout time that are super important are recorded in these cards, and Kip can read the cards. And to read the cards is sort of being flashed back and having a vision of the thing that was happening. So it starts happening to you. The voice becomes the voice of the person in the card, and that stunted me at first, but I got used to it, and now when it happens I'm like, oh, what's this intriguing little bit of history I'm about to learn? And instead of just learning about it, you're experiencing it, and I really enjoyed the way that was written. I think it explores that really well in that there's a rich history of this culture in this book that is relevant still, and a new thing has just happened in this book that, you know, spoilers can't talk about, but it's just added this other layer on top of everything that's already happening, and you're like, wow. And if I was to explain to you everything that happened in this book, I would get confused out loud, but when I'm reading it I understand perfectly everything that's going on, and I really enjoy that about this book. I feel included. I feel like I'm part of the storyline, that Tia and Kip are my friends, like I might be part of the Blackguard. It's just really personable book, I think, and it feels inclusive, like you belong there. If you haven't gotten into the universe of the Lightbringer series, I would highly recommend picking it up if you like fantasy, if you like big books, if you like personable characters, if you like magic systems that are just amazing and out of this world and just have the full spectrum of emotion. Lightbringer. Alright. Now I'm just talking too much. Okay, see you next week. Maybe not on Friday because I've got a big weekend planned. Thank you all so much for watching. How do you turn this thing off?